Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the first meeting of the Montgomery County Local Land Use, Transportation, and Public Safety Committee. I'm Delegate Sarah Love. I am your chair. We also have we had him, but we just lost him, Delegate David Moon, Delegate Vaughn Stewart, Delegate Chow Wu, and Delegate Ryan Spiegel. I apologize for my dog in the background. So we have three bills that we will be discussing today, and I want to thank our guests who have joined us today. Please remember that your voice is welcome, but please raise your hand to be called on. We will start with MC 1924, sponsored by Delegate Charkoudian, who is on the call if we have any questions. This bill is a short bill. You'll notice I never say it's a simple bill because usually when you say that, you are quickly proven wrong. But this bill says it changes the requirement that before activating a speed monitoring system, the local jurisdiction shall publish notice of location of the speed monitoring system on its website and in a newspaper. We heard at the hearing that really, given all the closures of local newspapers, that's the Washington Post, which is incredibly expensive. So it would now just be required in Montgomery County, if they're going to put up a speed camera, to publish it on the website. Any discussion among members? Yes, Delegate Spiegel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to briefly say I support this, and I hope it will be one more step in the broader effort to update other sections of code that require costly legal notice publication for other actions by state and local government. I think this makes a lot of sense.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Captain Flynn. Is there a motion on the floor?
Move favorable, Madam Chair.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Delegate Spiegel seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand. Great. Delegate Acevero, you are both on mute and I cannot see you, so I cannot record your vote.
Yes.
Thank you. Delegate Wu?
Yes.
Fantastic. Chair votes yes. Ralph, please record unanimous on 1924. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Delegate Charkoudian. And moving on to MC 1024, this is Delegate Moon's bill that deletes a requirement in Montgomery County. Right now, a local authority may decrease the maximum speed limit to not less than 15 miles per hour on a highway only after performing an engineering and traffic investigation. It would delete that section, quote, only after performing an engineering and traffic investigation. Delegate Moon, anything you want to say to us before we open up for discussion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, I think if you were around for earlier iterations of this bill and topic, you'll know that the interesting thing for this year is that other jurisdictions outside of Montgomery have been making similar changes to facilitate local control to lower speed limits. And so I think there are many ways and versions of language to get there. The one you have before you is just a clean repeal. But I think in this case, we're just seeking parity with how other counties that have headed in this direction and the city are going. But like I said, there are many ways to craft this to achieve that. So I'm happy to work with this committee to get to something favorable.
Delegate Stewart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to clarify to the sponsor, you, Delegate Moon, sort of came up with this idea, right? You were the first in the state to do it. And then since then, a bunch of other jurisdictions have copied us because they think it's the right idea. But in their copycat versions, they did not include this study. And so now you're trying to put us on parity with the copycats. Is that right?
copycats is a strong word, and I don't want to take credit for the concept of lowering speed limits. I think that has existed long before you or I got here, but that's the basic framework. When Montgomery County did this, I think we were the first to get this explicit. Montgomery County and its municipalities was the first to get this, and so as you'll note, it came on with the condition for a basic traffic and engineering study, and a prohibition on cameras. And I'm not sure that both of those elements came on to later jurisdictions that have adopted this, or in the proposals for those that are seeking to do this. And I think we've got examples from like Solomon's Island and Baltimore. Prince George's had an effort like this. So this is why I say there are many ways to write this, and I certainly don't want to be one to contribute to additional fracturing of the code if you're all trying to get to more of a statewide rule on how to do this. So again, if you see something in the way the other jurisdictions have written their rule that achieves what Montgomery County advocates are trying to achieve, I'm certainly open to language suggestions.
Thank you. And I'll just also say that I use copycat with love. I have nothing but affection for counties who draw inspiration from our home county here.
Thank you, Delegate Spiegel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I understand that part of the context of this bill is that our Montgomery County agencies have already put a lot of effort into developing comprehensive plans for updating their traffic and pedestrian standards in Montgomery County. And I think that goes to what the sponsor and what Delegate Stewart were saying in terms of parity and the history and evolution of this requirement, this language in the existing code through Vision Zero and other efforts. And I also understand the bill reduces some of the administrative burden and cost to update speed limits consistent with those standards and those plans. But I do just want to note that I respectfully do not agree with some of the testimony that we heard suggesting that the setting of local speed limits is not ever a political matter anymore these days, and that it's just some sort of matter of applying objective technical measures with calculations that spit out the mathematically correct speed limit for every local road. I do think engineering and traffic studies by expert traffic engineers who work on these issues are often useful for understanding the need and the justification for proposals to change speed limits. And I've seen that in many years of service as a municipal official. And I do think that without such requirements, there could potentially be a risk that decisions are more likely to be driven by considerations other than engineering and technical standards. But that said, I do generally favor giving local governments more control and authority over the management of their own jurisdictions, which will come as no surprise to anyone. And so I certainly don't, have any opposition to this bill, but I did just kind of want to make that point on the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, one thing came up at the hearing, and that was whether Delegate Moon, you wanted to offer, or really anyone, an amendment to the bill regarding when Montgomery County can lower speed limits, put up a speed camera after lowering the speed limits. Currently, there's a prohibition on it. And a couple of people testified, I believe, Sarah, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the county also supported a 1-year moratorium on putting a speed camera where the county has lowered the speed limit. Any discussion on that? Do we want to keep the bill clean? Do we want to add that? What do folks think? Delegate Stewart and then Delegate Moon.
So just to clarify the discussion here. So right now, the bill in its current posture is just removing the study requirement. But there's also a prohibition about adding speed cameras ever after you've reduced speeds. But there's interest from maybe allowing that if you had a 1-year moratorium first so that people can get used to the new speed and you're not surprising people. Then we're allowing speed cameras, the justification presumably being that in areas where we've had this speed reduction, we want it to be enforced, and we want people to sort of normalize the new status quo. Is that right?
Brilliant as always.
Okay,
Doug.
okay. So I am in favor of that amendment, and I would also it's assuming I can kind of wave a magic wand and create the amendment here speaking today. Looking at the council, then I would be interested in personally in doing that if, you know, assuming that the committee is on board. I think that that makes a lot of sense. I don't think it makes. I think that the idea, if you're imagining the kind of ideal type of the street I've always envisioned since the very beginning when Delegate Moon put this bill in, I'm thinking like a 10 or a 15 mile per hour road that is maybe really windy. It's maybe on a hill. It's kind of maybe either remote or has lots of pedestrians. To me, that's the exact kind of road where we lower the speed limit beyond sort of what was previously allowed to do. That's the exact kind of road where we want a speed camera, because those are the kinds of roads that are, I think, pedestrians are most at risk. If the new speed limit is 15 and someone's going 30, that's a really, really toxic brew. So I would support that amendment. And I think the 1-year moratorium also makes sense.
Thank you, Delegate Stewart. Delegate Moon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would echo the sentiments of Delegate Stewart, and I just want to be candid about the original hesitation to this. I think people were thinking about the prospect of suddenly a 15-mile, road, the speed limit being lowered to 15 miles an hour, and all of a sudden you've got photo enforcement going on there, and that element of surprise, I think, is one that had concerned folks at the onset of the bill. But I want to be clear that, basically the way this is operating now, there's a straight prohibition on there being a camera on that road, no matter what's going on. You could have had a series of serious incidents, and still by law, it's just a straight prohibition. If we remove the prohibition, it doesn't mean that the county's just putting speed cameras on these roads. It already says no to many speed camera. The county already says no to many speed camera requests, and I would expect that the situation here would be no different, that the county would continue to subject its own, the existing standards for where speed cameras can and will be placed for these newly lowered roads. Also, it's not my understanding that the prohibition on photo enforcement is solely as to 15-mile-an-hour roads, unless I'm reading this incorrectly. I believe the prohibition is on roads that have had the speed limit lowered pursuant to this policy, whatever that speed is. It could be, it's that we're diverging from the state's speed limits. And so if the state speed limit on a particular road is 30 or 35, and Montgomery County, under this power, has decided to lower it, can't put a speed camera there. I have to say it's a little unusual to grant the power to the county to create speed limits, but not give them the mechanism to enforce it. So I think it's a pretty reasonable proposal and a request by the county. And so I would move, unless there's opposition from the chair to doing it in this manner, to vote in concept, to move in concept the county amendment for a removal of the prohibition on photo enforcement on these roads, subject to a 1-year moratorium.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Delegate Chow, I see your hand up, but since there's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion. Delegate Chow.
Sure, thank
Sorry,
you.
Delegate Wu. I'm so sorry, Chow.
No
Delegate
problem.
Wu.
Chair Law, thank you. I think I share the same sentiment. Sometimes if we lower the speed limit, then there are more people really get a ticket. At the same time, like 50 miles, when there's a need at daytime, probably is a need, but at nighttime, and then there's no much traffic, then many people will get a ticket, right? So that's the question. And the ticket itself, in general, it's either burden to a lot of people, especially to low-income families. That's my concern. And many people are getting more fined. And at the same time, I don't see a significant, at least I didn't see any reports that Montgomery County with so many cameras actually had a better traffic conditions than Howard County. I just compare these two counties, right? So I think that's my huge concern. Even I support this conceptually, but I'm a little concerned about how we implement that, make sure it will be not a burden financially to a lot of families.
Thank you, Delegate Wu. Delegate Spiegel?
Thanks, Madam Chair. I support the amendment. I think it makes sense. And I will just sort of remind everyone, I'm sure we all know that the law on the speed cameras still sets a 12 mile per hour sort of buffer for any location that uses a speed camera. So even if it drops down to 15 miles an hour, no one's getting a ticket from a speed camera unless they're doing 27 or above.
That's a good point. Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of the amendment in concept, which council will draft to us and circulate, and you will have the opportunity, if it is not to your liking, to correct that before we go forward. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Great. Any opposed? Okay, will you all reflect that it was unanimous, please? Okay, is there a motion on the bill as amended?
Move the bill.
Is there a second?
Second,
Wonderful. Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, on the bill as amended, all in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Great. Fantastic. Again, please reflect that the bill as amended passed 6-0. Okay, excellent. We have gone through 1924 and 1024. Great work, everyone. Let's turn to 1124. This is Senator Kramer's bill on speed cameras on the ICC. We saw this bill last year. We do have a couple of new folks, so this may be new to you. We have MDTA on the call. Not to put y'all on the spot, but I'm going to. Do any of you have any comments you want to raise about this bill?
First of all, good morning. For the record, my name's Percy E. Dangerfield. I'm the acting executive director for MDTA, and I apologize for my untimely phone ringing as soon as I come off of mute. So first of all, thank you, Delegate Love, for inviting us here. We really appreciate the opportunity to meet with the delegation. We think we share the same vision that you all share in terms of safety and providing the best opportunity for our traveling motorists. I also want to thank Senator Kramer for championing safety initiatives for the ICC, and one of which is the introduction of the speed cameras. So we are on the same page in terms of things we can do with respect to safety. However, looking at this particular bill, there are a few considerations if implemented the way that it is. One of the things we had talked about previously is that we have a trust agreement that dictates how we use toll revenue. The way this bill is currently constructed, it does give us the flexibility where there is not an issue with respect to our trust agreement and our requirements. However, the way the bill is currently constructed, it would require us to engage with an outside vendor, which currently we do not have the contract or the contracting authority at this moment. We would also have to increase our staff, because we would have to have employees that were dedicated to working with the public for any of the citations that would be levied against the traveling motorists. So those are the major considerations for us with the bill, and really that's from an operational standpoint, how we would actually implement something like this. Obviously, it comes with an additional cost at this moment. We are not budgeted, for the contract and the additional employees we would need for the bill, implement the bill. But in addition to that, some of the things we have been doing with respect to safety is we have increased our presence with our MDTA police force. So there's additional high visibility on ICC 200. And we've also instituted mobile speed units, display monitors which notify motorists if they're actually exceeding the speed limit. So see, these are just some of the things that we've been doing and working with you all. And actually the result of this delegation's conversations last session resulted in us actually implementing and providing the mobile monitoring speed units that are currently on the ICC. So those are the things that would impact us with respect to the bill. But again, I do want to close by saying that all safety initiatives are very important, and we're willing to work with the delegation to do what we can to ensure the safety of the motorists. So thank you, Delegate Love.
Thank you. I appreciate your being on and you're sharing that with us. Can you provide for this committee suggested amendments that would help ensure that you're in agreement with your trust agreement, or I'm not saying that correctly, but you know what I mean. If there are
yes. So first of all, thank you, Delegate Love. But actually, thanks goes to Senator Cramer. We've been working with Senator Cramer. Senator Cramer's been working with us, from my understanding, over the at least the last two cycles, where the amendment as the legislation as proposed actually addresses our trust agreement issues. So we would be in compliance as is currently written.
Great. Okay. In compliance was the term that I couldn't find a moment ago. Thank you. Okay. That's great. If you could get us a budget number, what it would cost to implement this bill, that would be helpful for us. That would be great. Okay, good. Any questions from the committee? Yes, Delegate Spiegel.
Thanks again, Madam Chair. Just 2 points. First, as I mentioned during the full delegation hearing on this bill, I use the ICC a lot, and at least anecdotally from my experience, I agree that there is a lot of really crazy speeding on that road, given at least the current capacity relative to use. And I do think it could benefit from speed cameras being able to be placed there obviously for purposes of public safety. It can be pretty scary seeing those very aggressive speeders zip past on that road. The second thing I want to mention, which I also mentioned at the full delegation hearing, is there is some language in the existing code, and I'm going to I'll cite just for the record. I'm looking at page 5, line 11 of the bill, that talks about the requirement to publish notice of the location of the monitoring systems in a newspaper of general circulation, similar to the issue we just discussed with Delegate Charkoudian's bill. And so I would propose that there be an amendment to that line that is identical to the language in Delegate Charkoudian's bill that we just voted on, basically saying publish notice of the location of the speed monitoring system on its website and, comma, except in Montgomery County, comma, in a newspaper of general circulation in the jurisdiction. Especially when we're talking about mobile cameras being used on this road, the burden is much greater if you're talking about having to go back to the Washington Post and pay for a legal notice ad every single time you're placing those mobile cameras in a different location. Thank you.
Great, that's helpful. Okay, we're not, just so members know, I don't believe we're at a point of voting on this bill just yet. So that's helpful to bring that forward when we're ready to vote on it. Any other, Acting Director Dangerfield, do you have anything to say about that? Does that work for you?
Thank you, Delegate Love. I'd have to take a look at the impact. Just hearing it right now, I don't see any concerns with that. But we would look at that and make that part of our consideration.
Great. I think it'll save you a lot of money.
Yeah.
Delegate Stewart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm a co-sponsor, so I obviously support the bill, but my question is around the effectiveness of the real-time posting of speed, which, I think this committee and the delegation overall and the chairwoman all deserve credit for getting that through, because it is clear that real-time posting of speeds is effective in all the studies that I've seen. It does actually help. Now, also in the studies, it doesn't quite help as much as speed cameras, but it's also not as unpopular among the public, right? So it's all trade-offs. But my question would be, we actually have voluminous data on speed cameras in Montgomery County. Since Montgomery County was one of the first movers on this nationwide, a number of different nonprofits and government agencies have studied it. So we have really good numbers on the percentages that it reduces crashes and speeds. I'm curious if we have any early data from the real-time monitoring on the ICC from the past year. And maybe that was covered in the hearing, but it's been like a month and my memory's not that good anymore. So that's what I'm curious about, because I'd love to compare kind of county-wide speed camera numbers with ICC specific real-time posting of speed numbers.
So the bill that we passed out of the House last year stalled in the Senate. So that
Okay. I
actually
whiffed on
never
that. Okay.
happened, but the acting director mentioned that they have done some of that. So it,
because I've seen some real-time posting of speed. So I assume that we were successful. I think my memory suggested that it stalled in the Senate, but then my eyes deceived me because I saw real-time posting. So in my head, it just went to, man, Chair Love is the best. She somehow got it done, despite my recollection. Okay, well,
everywhere.
Well, regardless of the bill failing or not, if we have some signs, it'd be great to have the data from the signs.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, member. So yes, we were not mandated to place the mobile speed monitors there. We did it in partnership, with the delegation, again, trying to improve safety. I'm not sure how long I don't believe they've been up for an entire year, but I do have my chief engineer, Jim Harkness, who is also on the line. I don't know if Jim has any data right now, whether or not we're currently collecting it. Jim?
Hi, thanks, Percy. For the record, I'm Jim Harkness, the chief engineer of MDTA, and we placed the two speed feedback display devices in November of last year. So we have only about 2 months of exposure with those devices. We are rotating them among 3 sites on the ICC. We're leaving them in place approximately 2 weeks and then moving them to a new site. We have 3 sort of hotspot locations on the ICC that we monitor for crashes and the frequency there. So we're strategically targeting those locations and moving the devices there. We do not have any data on crashes at this point correlating to the deployment of those devices, though.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate it. Maybe we'll have some by the time we actually have to, either pass the bill or amend it or kick this to the chair and my actual regular committee. Maybe we'll have some early data. It'd be great if somehow we could cook some up, even if it was just a week's worth of data or something like that. It would be great to have something that we could hang our hat on a little bit.
It would be. And then you also mentioned the hotspots. So I'd be very interested to hear the data on, I know we talked about it last session, but get some concrete data, more recent data on where are the hotspots on the ICC and what are we seeing? When you say hotspots, is that just increased speed? Is that crashes? How do you define hotspots and where are they?
Yeah, so when I was referring to hotspot, it was a crash hotspot. So it would be throughout the 19 miles of the ICC, we look at where crashes are occurring with the most frequency. And then we kind of lump those into geographic areas. And then so there's 3 spots along the Maryland MDTA operated portion of the ICC that has a concentration. So we specifically targeted those for the deployment of the 2 speed feedback display devices that we have.
That's fantastic. So if you actually could get us the data on those hotspots and the levels of crashes, and then whether you've seen any differences in the crashes pre and post use of the speed monitoring devices, that would be very helpful.
We'll try our best. We often have a lag with our crash data, as you may or may not know. So we'll see what we can put together. But real-time crash data sort of analysis is a little difficult for just with the way that we collect data and process data. But we'll do our best.
And we'll take whatever you've got. So thank you. All things that are sent to the committee should go, just for ease, to our delegation administrator. It should go to Ralph. Ralph, can you either read off your email or drop it in the chat for folks?
Sure. It's going to be montgomerycounty.housedelegation@mlis.state.md.us.
So, and Ralph is the one who sent you the link for this, so you also
Yes.
have it that way.
Okay,
And
so
then
I'm sorry, Ross. So the link that you sent, that's the address. That's your email address.
yes, that is mine.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And then just for posterity, for any of the delegates who are here today, we do have a Google Drive folder that I make for every single one of these meetings, and that will have any supplemental documents that are sent ahead of meetings. So bill summaries, any stuff from MDTA or who it may be, and then all previous testimony on the bill amendments and bill text all go in that folder for ease of access for you guys.
Thank you. And a special shout out to council for the bill summaries. Thank you, Dominic. We appreciate that. Okay, any further comments, discussion, thought on MC 1124? Like I said, I'm not ready to call a vote on it yet, but I feel like we've had some really good conversation, but want to keep the door open for any other comments, either from members or from others. Going once, going twice. Okay. So great. Hopefully we will be ready to vote on this. Well, I'm not going to give us a timeline just yet, but I will keep you all posted, give you well in advance notice of when we'll be voting on any of the bills. This concludes our work for today. Our next meeting is next week. And like I said, I will give you advance notice as to what we will be working on. As always, reach out to me with any questions that you have. And thank you all for being so prompt today. I appreciate it.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thanks.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Bye.
Thank you all.